Guys, I'm here with Ismail. I thought it was about time that we put a face to a name, and he deals with all of the visas. The company's My Expat. You can find them on my website. Link is in my bio and my profile, but it's just sairahayati.com. Now let's get into the details, because you guys have been asking me about Forest City, the visas, the money, the documents, how long it takes, whether you should do it beforehand, and this is the man that's going to answer all of it. So where should we kick off, Ismail? Where should we start with? I mean, Forest City is a big hype at the moment, isn't it?
It is.
And
yes.
I've done a visit, we've had a look at the site. I really like it. Personally, I could live there because it's all coastal and you can see so much. And the fact that you're going to get a 10-year visa, you'll only need a small amount of money compared to the other MM2H because the rules have changed. So what should we talk about then? So let's talk about Forest City. So we know it's a 10-year. How much money do we need?
So in terms of the Forest City, we require a minimum of 500,000 ringgit.
Right, that's about 87,000 pounds to buy the property.
Correct.
Yeah.
And depending on the age, so under 50 we require a fixed deposit of 65,000 US dollars.
65,000
Yes,
US dollars?
65.
I thought it was 32 and then it was half.
So 32 is for if you're age 50 and above.
I thought it was 32, 50 and below, and then it goes to 16. Wishful thinking. Wishful bloody thinking. Okay.
But it goes to 16 for the over 50, yes.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be 50 soon.
Yeah, so that's fine.
Do you know what I mean? So I'm okay. So it's 16,000,
yeah,
right?
It will be 16,000, yeah, eventually.
After I'm 50?
After you get the 50% withdrawal.
Right, so it is 65.
It's no. So for your over 50,
yes,
it's 32,000 US dollars.
Right.
Then after a year, you get to withdraw 50%.
Right.
So it will be 16,000.
That's it. That's where I'm getting the 16,000
that's
from.
where you get the 16,000.
Okay, so if you're under 50, then it's $65,000.
Correct.
Which is about what, £50,000?
It's
1.2, guys. You're gonna have to do some maths on this because I didn't work it out.
Yeah, about 50,000.
About 50-ish.
Yeah.
So then after a year, they can draw out the other 25.
Correct.
To be used towards the purchase of the property.
Correct. So how it works?
Yes, this is
to clarify.
Yeah, this is important.
So first, you need to actually purchase. You need to purchase the property first.
Mm-hmm.
You need to do that within 1 year of getting the visa.
Mm-hmm.
But then you can withdraw after the year. So it could be possible you just bought just before the year, and then you get to withdraw just after the year.
Right. So you've got to buy within a year.
Correct.
Okay, so guys, when you understand buy means the exchange contracts. So in order to do the buy and do the exchange, you only need 10%.
Correct, that's right.
And then after that, it will still take a good, potentially 3 to 6 months
yes,
before you have to pay your completion money. So that's where they have to buy within, but they can still use the half they've drawn out.
Correct. Technically, they could do that.
Yes.
So, they'll be able to claim the 50% well before the completion of the property.
So this just means a bit of careful planning to get it right, so you don't have to come with a whole bag of cash. Ismail will show you what to do, when to do it, so that you don't. Because one of the biggest misunderstandings is, and I had this myself as well, is that you have to have the money to buy the house separate and also have the fixed deposit, and then you get half out afterwards. But it makes sense that I'm thinking vacant possession, which is UK completion. It can be done where they can utilise half of that actually towards the fund purchase.
If they time it correctly, if they do it towards the end of the year, then they sign the SPA, pay the 10%. Normally, the full amount will probably need to be paid within 3 months though, although the completion takes up to 6 months. So
I didn't have to do that.
So when did you actually make the payment?
So I did, like say 10%, and then after about 3 months I got my sales and purchase agreement, which was my exchange, and then I didn't pay any more money until I was near completion.
Okay, so yeah, it could work like that depending on who the seller is. Right, so if the seller is a developer, they'll be quite lenient in terms of their payment. If it's a private seller, you will have agreed to pay within 3 months.
Ah.
Yeah.
But so then I bought from a private seller.
So what you would do?
Yeah, it was a private seller. Okay. So that's why it wasn't. And then the thing is, they had a mortgage, so
that's good then.
I paid. Yeah, so I suppose it will be a case of negotiating.
Probably. I mean, generally the SPA agreement is quite flexible, so you can put quite a few terms in there.
Yeah.
So maybe in your case, you know, you got a lenient seller, and then he was happy because he knew, you know, I mean, the alternative is going to make you pay and you pull out the contract. Yeah, you pull out the contract. So it's probably in his interest to wait anyway.
It makes no sense anyway to give that money in advance. And I guess these guys didn't really want it because they had a mortgage, and I paid the mortgage off for them first, and then I paid the balance to their solicitor. It was just worked around. The main thing is it's quite secure, it's quite safe. The solicitors are on it, and they're regulated, and they're very compliant. I found the solicitors here are very compliant.
They are.
So Forest City, 10 years, MM2H. We've got literature on your website, so the other visas that are available for expats with a 5-year, but they come with a reasonably large fixed deposit, don't they?
That's right. So the next category up is basically the silver category. So the amount of fixed deposit is $150,000 US. So again, you could withdraw the 50%.
That's about, let's say, 120,000-ish pounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the property threshold is basically a minimum of 600,000 ringgit.
Okay.
But the state conditions supersedes the MM2H requirement. So for instance, in Malacca, foreigners can buy from 500,000 onwards. So then their requirement
is
for
according
MM2H
to
would be
state?
600,000. No, 600,000. So whichever is higher.
The law supersedes then.
Yes. So whichever
state.
is higher.
Okay.
So if it's 1 million, if they're buying in KL, the state threshold is 1 million for foreigners.
Yeah.
So in that case, they would have to buy for 1 million.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So actually doesn't work out too bad, because I was thinking that they've really increased the amount of money and made it quite difficult. But previously my understanding was I needed about 40 to 50,000 pounds in the bank, and I needed to buy for $1 million. So either way, this is 120,000 pounds, isn't it? So there's 120,000 in the bank, but you're going to leave 60 in there, and 60 is going to go towards your purchase of $1 million or 600,000 anyway.
Correct.
So it's not as ugly as I thought the whole MM2H changes.
Yeah.
So what documents do they need?
Okay, so documentation-wise, it's not too difficult because unlike previous programs where they're just checking your financial capability and stuff like that, so there's a lot of verification process going on. So this time it's the simple stuff like your passport, birth certificates, marriage certificates needs to be attested by the embassy in your home country or the country.
That's important, isn't it?
That is important. That's probably one of the most important documents.
Yeah.
And then,
so when you say attested by the embassy in your home country, what embassy?
Okay, so how it works is, first of all, you need to look at where the certificate has been issued. So if it's UK, for instance, birth certificate and marriage certificate, so there's a thing called apostille in UK, so you need to have that done on your documents, and then they take those documents to the Malaysian embassy in London. They will attest those for you. So then those documents are complete then.
Right, run that by me again. So you take it to an apostle. You
go through a government website, gov.uk. So everything is done online, right? So you say what you want attesting. So in this case, it's a birth certificate, marriage certificate. You fill out the form, you pay for the apostille, and then you send out those documents. So you normally in UK you get those certified copies of birth certificates. You send those out to them.
Right.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, in a self-addressed envelope, I'm not sure. You send it to them, and they apostille it, and they send it back to you. And you then need to send it to the Malaysian embassy, and they will attest it for you.
So that is the formality complete?
For the birth certificates and marriage certificates, yes. It can take up to, possibly going to take up to 3 to 4 weeks to do that.
Okay.
I think
posting and returning and all of that. Okay.
I think the UK government takes about 2 weeks.
You
could probably get it done faster if you pay for a courier charge, I believe.
Okay.
And Malaysian embassy going to take about 2 weeks.
And how valid, what period of validity is that?
So in terms of the apostille and attestation, there's no validity. There's no expiry for the document, because once it's attested and apostilled, that's it. It doesn't matter how old it is.
So the likelihood of repeating in the future is not necessary unless the document date expires, which on a birth certificate and a marriage certificate it doesn't.
It doesn't.
So that's it. Once done.
Once it's done,
complete.
then that's it.
Perfect. So I guess they can always step back out and step back in. So you started your 3 months here, get the process going, you help submit the application, and if they do run out of time, step over to Singapore, which is only a drive away, or take a trip to Thailand and enjoy another holiday, because there's so many countries around that you can go to, and then when you come back in, your 3 months starts again. And you don't generally get questioned too much when you're coming back?
Not really, yeah. I mean, they might just ask for a return flight ticket, that's about it. Why have you come back? Maybe you're still visiting, maybe you're looking potentially to apply for some of the visas. So then generally,
so you can show that you're doing something,
yes,
as opposed to just stepping out and stepping back in, trying to stay for a long period of time without applying for a visa. I guess that's the reasoning behind it. Okay, so some people have had concerns around renewal. So like you get given your 5 years or your 10 years under Forest City. After 10 years, like what can you tell them that maybe help them overcome these concerns?
Well, this program has been running for the last 20 years, and there's been, I think, about 4 changes to date. And all the previous applicants who hold an M2H visa, they've managed to renew based on their original conditions. So I don't see that ever changing. So things could change. There might be a new program.
This is it. Laws can change, can't they?
But rest assured, you will be renewed. That's why all the visas which are on offer now, they are renewable. That's how they've been
written, so to speak. Yeah.
So you will be renewed based on your conditions. So as long as you've still got your property within 5 years, you haven't sold it yet, because you do need to keep it for 10 years before you can sell it.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So the house I bought,
yes,
I can't sell it for 10 years.
You can't sell it. So if you join the MMTH program,
that's if I joined the program.
Yes, So ordinarily it's fine. It's just that restriction or that condition is only for the MMTH program. You can't sell it for 10 years.
Okay.
So if you have bought a property in Forest City or wherever under the MMTH program, so you won't be able to sell it for 10 years. So in 5 years' time, you'll still have that property, and then you'll have 50% of your fixed deposit in your bank. So those will be the basis of your renewal at that time.
Right.
And then
that's it. Because you've done everything else. It's quite simple, but you just have to have a little bit of money behind you. So the 5 years makes sense. If they're telling you to hold the property for 10 years, the chances of a 5-year renewal are highly likely, aren't they? Okay, so renewal is something that you don't need to worry about, because laws change, and you never know, they might start issuing out PRs one day. Would be a happy day. But that's it. There must be a patch of land somewhere you can put us all. Just put us there, so we'd just be good behaved people earning our money and praying. That's it. That's all everybody wants to do. So there's other visas, isn't there? What other visas are there? So you've got the MM2H. You've got obviously Forest City, which is the most appealing because it's the cheapest and easiest. What other visa processes are there they could do?
So they could get a typical employment pass, which is securing a job with a local company, and then they would apply for an employment pass for you. So that's a typical work.
So your employer that you, if you apply for a job, you get a job, they'll do the employment pass for you. So how long is that for?
Generally, it's about initially it's about 2 years.
Oh, they give you 2 first?
Yes, 2 years. And I think once you've worked there for a considerable amount of time, and depending on what type of job it is as well, they will give you up to 5 years. If you're a key person in a particular company, they would give you 5 years each time. But so that could probably only happen maybe after 10 years, I'm assuming. Depends. Yeah,
so there's consistency, good behaviour, all of that, you can stay for longer. So that's the employment pass, but the employer does that. There's something called the guardian visa as well, but that's to do with children going to school, isn't it?
Yes. So basically, we don't handle that particular visa, but that guardian visa is given to a parent of a child who's studying in a local school.
Yeah.
So it's generally an international school.
Right.
And normally all the student visas, so the child would be getting a student visa, and the parent would be getting the guardian visa.
Okay.
And only the schools who are approved would be able to apply for those type of visas.
So they'll do that for you as well. Yes. Something's changed on that front, I believe. School told us that previously it was for one parent.
Correct.
And now it's for 2.
Correct.
Good.
So that's good news, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
But there was a way around it actually before, whereby if you had 2 kids, each kid would apply with each parent.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility.
I mean, I can see how that's problematic anyway, because the one parent gets the guardianship to be here, and the other one, if they fly back home and then back in for like 2 months and then back home again. You're kind of going on the tourist entry, exit situation. Right, okay. So there is another way that you taught me, and I think we should teach them, whereby they can set themselves up a labuan company, which is an offshore business company, but allows you to trade in the whole of Malaysia, but also allows you to receive money. No? Have I got that?
Doesn't allow you to trade in Malaysia.
Doesn't allow you to trade.
So that's the restriction.
Right.
So it doesn't allow you to trade in Malaysia, but
Yeah.
you would be trading globally, except Malaysia.
Except Malaysia.
Yeah.
Right. So for example, if I'm working for somebody here as a freelancer, then how does that fit?
No. So basically this, so that would be a local company then, that would be just a local consultancy.
Yeah.
So in terms of the labuan, it's basically an offshore entity,
Yeah.
similar to like your Cayman Islands and stuff like that. So you would be setting up a company in Labuan, which is a state in Malaysia.
Right.
So which provides this incentive. It's very similar to all these offshore entities you get, like I said, in Cayman Islands, and you benefit from low taxation.
Yeah.
Obviously, it needs to be a genuine business.
Yeah, of course.
Whereby your suppliers, your customers are foreigners.
Right.
So you'd be trading in foreign currencies.
Yeah.
So you'd be trading
Pound,
in
dollar,
any
euro.
currency other than the Malaysian ringgit.
Right. Okay.
So although your company is based in Malaysia, the actual entity is trading globally, and you benefit from very low taxation. Currently, it's 3%.
Yeah.
Right, and at the same time, if you do set up, you get the benefit of applying for an employment pass under that company.
Right, I see. So I could, so I have the company. I do work with companies that pay me from the UK, euros and dollars. So that money would get paid into my Labuan company. I'd get taxed 3%. But any work that I do in Malaysia itself would not go through the Labuan company.
That's correct.
Right, okay, so that makes sense. And so the kind of business that you could, okay, so it doesn't really work for the wholesale, retail and the trade then, does it?
No, it doesn't. Not if you're based here.
Yeah.
So, or even globally. So generally, import, export, consultancy, some IT, online businesses.
Well, what about things like TikTok, let's say? I produce a product that gets shipped to the UK, the US, any other country, and they distribute it and I sell it on my TikTok platform, let's say.
Yeah, so let's say, for example, you're dealing with actual products itself. So say, for instance, your products are coming in from China and your customer base is in UK. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
so
so
you
that
have
works.
a website, so you'd be marketing your business online using social media.
No, you can use Amazon or anywhere. If I've got a website and I'm selling my products, I can still live here, have my company formed here, and allow for my products to be sold elsewhere.
That's right.
As long, and then it all just gets paid to my Malaysian company. So the bottom line, I guess, there is that they have to pay into my Malaysian company. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that can be any currency because the bank account that you open, you do all of that for them. You open the companies for them, support them with the whole process of setting this all up, and then they can give themselves an employment pass.
Correct.
And the employment pass is for 2 years?
Initially it's for 2 years, then you would, I think, it continues for 2 years.
2 and 2. So that's really a good way around things, guys. I mean, if you've got a lot of business and trading that you do, I guess any form of trading, if you are an online trader, if you are a crypto trader, if you are any kind of online business, you can open yourself a Labuan company, pay your money into there, get the tax advantage and give yourself an employment pass.
Yes. And another advantage with the setting up a company in Malaysia, dividends are tax free. So
I heard that. I was like, what the heck? Because they've just gone up in the UK.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with the Labuan entity, you would be paying 3% tax on your profits at a corporate level.
Yeah.
So basically, once your company's made some profit, you can pay yourself a dividend, and so you've already paid tax on your salary.
Yeah. So you can take a salary.
You can take a salary.
Right.
You can take a salary if you're getting the visa under the company, so
right.
you're going to be...
So probably need to do that then?
Yes. So you would need to take a salary if you're going to get the visa from the company. That's certain. We could do a bit of a mixture as well. So there's a lot of people who get a visa, the residency visa, and they're M2H. They set up a labuan company, but not necessarily get an employment pass.
Right.
But then they gain advantage
dividends
in terms of dividends and tax for their company.
Yes.
So once you draw the dividends, you can actually bring them back to your personal account in Malaysia and spend it. So your income, your personal income hasn't been taxed at all.
With the company, you have, like in the UK, do you have a certain amount of money that you can earn before it starts taxing? You know, like the normal allowances.
Yeah, you get your tax allowances.
Right.
There's quite a.
So you could take a bit on the tax allowance. You could let the rest on dividend, just to make it as tax efficient as possible.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, that's really good to know. And if you want to know any more than that and discuss your circumstances around it, you can get hold of Ismail. But I will let you know now that it is a paid consultation, because everybody's time is valuable and there's a lot of people making inquiries. So Ismail is available to you, but only if you're deadly serious and you want to be in business, and business usually means paying for the advice. So that's that one that we've covered off. Malaysian company is actually a little bit harder, isn't it?
Yeah, setting up the company is quite straightforward. It's just gaining an employment pass or a visa under the company. That's the difficult part.
Right.
So, for instance, you need to put down 1 million capital.
Yeah.
You need to actually set up the company before you can actually apply for the visa. There's no guarantee of getting the visa, and then your visa is completely dependent on how well the business does. So if you're not making any profit, maybe in 2 years' time, if you haven't paid tax on your salary, then you may not be able to get renewal. So you're constantly relying on the company to do well for you to be able to live in Malaysia.
Right. So then, just summarising that then, you can open a Malaysian company and you've got to set it all up, you've got to start trading, and then you can apply for a visa, but you do need 1 million ringgits as some form of security. And where does that go? Is that in the bank?
No, it's basically in your bank account anyway.
Right.
So it's part of the working capital of your business.
Right,
So you can spend it. So it's not set aside or something.
So you show that you've got the million ringgits, which is about £170,000, and that's your working capital for your business. And then you could open up something in what you explained earlier, wholesale retail trade. You can open a company in Malaysia.
That's right.
The same, I think I've noticed, but then I guess they're probably locals, and it's the SDNBHD. SDNBHD.
So that's basically
the version of limited company.
Private
in the UK.
limited.
Private LTD.
So when you see BHD alone, that's a public listed company.
Okay.
And the Sindhran Berhad is basically the private limited.
Right, okay. So there's a couple of ways that you can do things. You can open your own businesses here, but you just have to tread carefully around doing it the right way. That's going to be the most cost efficient way and successful, because the end result is you want a visa, right? Okay, so we'll move on from here now to work, because a lot of people are saying, obviously, I need money, I need to work. And remote working is the ideal situation. But what are the chances of, say, professionals, doctors, teachers, dentists, lawyers, what's the chances of them getting a job here?
Yeah, it's a bit difficult because that sort of sector is quite controlled.
Right.
So all these professional jobs, like in the medicine industry or accountancy or legal.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not possible. It is possible. There's a lot of hurdles you have to cross, and you need to get permission from the ministries and all that. Generally speaking, I would say, even if you do get consent, it's probably difficult to secure a job in any case.
Right.
Right. And even if you do, maybe, I mean, is it going to pay? Is it going to be? Is it going to pay as good? Is the pay going to be as good as the UK? I doubt it very much.
I think the main concern is for people that are working and living there that the money side of it is no longer a priority. The priority is the standard of living and their children and lifestyle. So getting a foot through a door. You mentioned government was maybe, if they did come, they would have to get a job with the government.
Yeah, so in terms of, say, the medical industry,
Yeah.
So if you're a doctor, dentist,
Mm-hmm.
you would only be able to work for a government authority. So it could be a university for teaching purposes,
right?
And or you could work for a government hospital.
Right. So could a doctor work for a private hospital?
As far as I know, no, they can't.
Okay.
Yeah, they can't.
But then teachers can work for private schools?
Teachers can. So the teachers are not as regulated.
Okay.
So
but medicine
makes
exactly. sense. Dentists.
So teachers and generally a lot of teachers who come from abroad work for international schools, so they're actually required here. So there's no restrictions based on them because they need native teachers, native speakers, for instance, in English.
Yeah.
So that could be actually that's probably the number one job foreigners take,
teaching.
Especially from the UK, teaching. There's a lot of teachers from the UK here. That would be the easiest way to get in terms of a job, and fairly well paid too.
But doctors and dentists not as.
No, because like I said, it's very regulated industry, so they don't want foreigners to be coming in and
taking their jobs. But you know why that is, though, don't you, Ismail? Because they've got a lot of doctors. They've got their own doctors and they've got their own dentists, and they don't need the foreigners to come in because the locals
there's too many.
There's too many. Whereas in the UK, they don't have any locals that have gone as high as that, and they have to import them, which is quite a funny shift to see and understand, because you'd have thought that doctors and dentists demand.
I mean, my daughter, she qualified as a dentist here.
Yeah.
So here, the amount of private as well as public institutions which do dentistry there's just so many.
There's a lot.
Whereas in UK, you're restricted. They have a batch of maximum 50, and according to my research I did earlier, there's only 7 universities, meaning 350 new dentists per year were getting qualified in the UK.
Wow.
Whereas here, I think there might be one university might have one batch of about 200-300.
Gosh, that's one university.
Yeah,
so that makes total sense. I'm conscious of time, but I hope you're still watching. But this is all very important information. We're covering your visas, we're covering off accommodation, and we're covering off employment, and got a little bit of tax in there as well. So I can't ask. Somebody asked me about Grab. So because you get Uber drivers, people want to come, people want to live. So could they do Uber driving maybe?
No, it's not possible.
Is it?
Foreigners are not allowed to register as
We're foreigners now. We're foreigners over there, and we're foreigners while we're here. It's a really unusual feeling, I tell you.
It is.
So you can't be the lower end work. I mean, it's not going to be sufficient to live anyway, is it? Because like you say, the schools, the kids have got harder for the families with children. Easier for maybe, obviously, people at my stage of life where we've got a little bit of liquidity, we've got some money behind us, and children don't need to go to private schools. I mean, homeschooling is a route, but that's only primary, and then realistically from there onwards secondary, you are going to want to put your kid into a school, and then university.
I mean, homeschooling is quite big here, especially amongst foreigners.
Right.
I mean, the homeschooling network is very popular.
Yeah.
And even becoming very popular with the locals. So that could be a good possibility, because private schooling is quite expensive.
Yeah, it is.
So that's a possibility. And I think I know a lot of kids. In fact, my nephew, my brother's daughter, she's just started at a school in UK. It's an online school.
Oh, right,
So those are quite affordable as well, actually, because they're online completely.
Yeah.
So that's another possibility. So they don't have to worry.
I think it works because the thing is most schools they'll have if you've got 2 parents working, then those parents are not able to look after the child. So in a way, it's like the care as well. But if you've got a parent at home, can do the homeschooling, can get online tutors. My son's doing A-level in Swansea College online, and it's not expensive.
Yep.
My daughter's got tutors. Maybe even secondary, you can get online, Islamic teachers. All of this is now a route, and it still allows you to have some quality of life.